Hey, everybody, welcome to the inaugural podcast of the Honey Bunches of Goats podcast. My name is Kyle Ayala. We're just a bunch of sports fans that love watching sports, love participating in sports, and, our true passion is boxing, but, we're going to be covering a lot of different topics as the podcast evolves. I have my two homies here, my brother, Keanu. Introduce yourself.
Yes. Hello. My name is Keanu Ayala. Like I said, 28 years old. Just excited to get this podcast going and get it running.
We're gonna have to get him drunk because when he's like nervous and he's sober, he's not as fun. But don't worry, there'll be a couple of times when he'll be smacked or a little drunk. He'll be our our comedic effect over here. We also got my boy right here, my brother Raul.
From another mother.
There we go. What's up, Raul?
Hey guys, how's it going? This is Raul. I'm here in the studio with KJ and Kyle. We're excited to bring you guys a weekly podcast covering the world of sports.
Hopefully bi-weekly.
Yes.
Hopefully bi-weekly. But yes, weekly podcast, yeah.
Yes, but overall, we're super excited and we're looking forward to bringing this out to you guys and you guys hearing us.
Yeah. It's funny because like we've been talking about starting this podcast for a while. It has its origins from a couple of years ago, where we've seen a lot of Herbs trying to start a podcast. I mean, us three, we're kind of herbish as well, but you know what? Don't tell us that because we
Speak
cool
for
as
yourself.
fuck.
Excuse me.
We cool as fuck. But yeah, it really evolves from the passion of sports that us three have. And as my brother is currently Snapchatting his life away, we just want to introduce everybody to what our passion is and, offer our insight. There's a bunch of sports podcasts that, that's been running rampant for the past 10 years. But you know what? We're going to put our insight, our specific experiences and views on, what we see in the world, a wide world of sports. I love boxing. Raul, you love boxing as well.
Love boxing.
Yeah, and my brother, he just likes looking at bitches at all the events, especially the weigh-ins.
Definitely. I'm for sure a fan, but you guys do it on your own time. You guys spar and you do your own thing, so you guys are better at boxing than me.
I'm pretty sure your affinity for Tecate girls will come in handy eventually. But anyway, guys, getting to the first topic at hand, the welterweight division in boxing, 147. We probably can say it's the hottest division in boxing right now. I mean, we have the heavyweights, but the top three heavyweights everyone wants to see fight each other. We have the lightweight division with Lomachenko, Tank Davis, and up and comers like Devin Haney, who said he's moving up to 130, and then you also have what's that? The Instagram star Ryan Garcia. Oh
Ryan
God!
Garcia. I've been hearing a lot about him.
Yeah, the kid can fight, but he hasn't fought anybody yet. But we can all easily say that the welterweight division is on fire. If we run through the contenders, and champions, top three champions in the division right now, we have Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, Manny Pacquiao. I think he holds the IBA. He holds the IBA title. I believe Terrence Crawford holds the WBO. WBO. Pacquiao holds the WBA. Crawford owns the WBO. And I think Spence has the IBF, right?
He has two. IBF and WBC.
Yeah, there you go. So those are the four belts amongst three champions. Then we have the contenders there. Perennial contender Danny Garcia. Keith One-Time Thurman, who recently lost to Pacquiao, his first loss. You also have Yordenis Ugas, who's a guy that no one wants to fight really in that division. Kell Brook, who's kind of been out of the picture for a little bit, but he's trying to get back in. We also have Sean Porter, mm-hmm. who's always a tough out. He's never an easy fight for anybody. There's also Sergey Lipinets, Mikey Garcia, but he's a part-time welterweight. We can all agree. All right, getting down to it. The fight that everyone wants to see in that division, we all know, Spence versus Crawford, right? I'm pretty sure people have talked about this all the time, but you know, Raul, start with you. Start with your opinion. How excited are you for that fight to happen, and how disappointed would you be if that fight didn't happen? You know, so tell me what you think.
Well, currently I'm disappointed because from the looks of it, both fighters are in different promotion companies. So being due to the fact that they have differences in terms of communication, contracts, and actually getting their fighters to fight one another is pretty hard. But overall, as long as these companies keep hyping up their fighters, eventually the fans, us, we're gonna want this fight. So sooner or later, they're gonna have to make it happen. But other than that, Spence Jr. and Crawford have to be, like we all know now, top welterweights in their division. So
Yeah.
hopefully down the road, this fight does end up happening, and it's definitely gonna be one of those century kind of fights.
Yeah, I think the whole coronavirus complicates things a lot. You know, obviously, you know, there's not going to be any gate money coming in. You know, there's not going to be, you know, the spectacle of what a normal big-time fight, pay-per-view fight would be. But, you know, I mean, it's a fight that we all want to see. I hope they're not waiting for it, you know. My brother, he's not as well versed in boxing as you know, me and Raul, but you know, he has his own insights. You know, my brother's watched Spence fight, he's watched Pacquiao fight, he's watched Crawford fight. You know, go ahead, KJ.
I'm definitely a fan of a great fight. Anytime I do watch boxing, it would be with you two guys. So, you know, you guys give me the inside and the insider's look of you know, the matches that I'm watching. So I'm excited to see it. I'll be excited to see a great fight.
Okay, very generic answer, but that's cool. but nah, you know, you know, that's the top fight that we all want to see. But you know, we still got old man Pacquiao there, my boy. We all know, everybody knows I'm a huge Pacquiao fan.
Pacquiao.
I'm biased as fuck. Yes, I am. I will admit that off the get. You know, Pacquiao, you know, put work on Thurman, even though it was a great fight. You know, it was a great fight. We can all say that Thurman did his thing too.
Yeah.
You know, and even though Thurman was, you know, been inactive the past couple of years, you know, hey, it was a great fight. And, you know, we all know Thurman can bang. You know, we all, us three, were fortunate enough to see that fight in Barclays a couple of years ago between Porter and Thurman. And that was a fantastic fight, you know, and you know, Thurman is tough. You know, none of us can really say that he's not, you know, he's weak or anything like that. Yo, he's tough out. I mean, Pacquiao put hands on him and really, you know, shine through. Pacquiao is the fighter that everyone wants to fight, from 135 to even, you know, 147. Who knows, maybe somebody from 154 be willing to drop down to 147 to fight. But you know, Pacquiao's been doing it for 20 plus years. It's crazy. He started fighting, I think, in 1997. That's when, yeah, KG still didn't discover his penis at that point. You know, and I don't think Raul either. You know, I was probably jacking off at that time. But you know, he's the WBA champion right now. Everyone wants to fight him. He's still clamoring for a rematch with Mayweather. But what fight would you say is the most intriguing? And what fight do you think he's most likely go for next? Raul, let me start with you.
Perfect. Well, that fight against Keith Thurman, for somebody to be 40 years old and look the way he looked, forget about it. He's the most athletic freak of nature 40-year-old I've ever seen in my life.
That's what happens when you have a full plate of rice and longanisa before every fight, because he's one of the few fighters that doesn't really need to cut weight. But yo, go ahead. I'm so sorry.
But if you look at Keith Thurman, anybody else, just looking at them, top 10 in their division, he only has somebody else to fight in that division, which is Errol Spence Jr. Anybody else, if you look at Porter, which will be a potential good fight, yeah. Both have similar kind of clash of styles. You have Ugas, you have Mikey Garcia, But I don't think they give any credit to Pacquiao's legacy at this point. I think the fight that he deserves and he needs at this stage will be Errol Spence Jr. The winner of that will potentially go against Crawford. That's how I see it.
I have a question for both of you guys. Actually, like,
Yo, hey, shoot.
what fight would Pacquiao most likely be fighting next? Like, who would he be fighting next?
Okay.
Most potentially.
Well, I mean, just real quick, going back to what Raul said, if Pacquiao fights Spence and beating Spence, that's fucking tough.
Yeah.
But we all know he has the potential to surprise us at this point, right? And then have to fight Crawford next, man. That might be the toughest schedule in boxing, right? To be able to fight Spence and Crawford one after another. Should he win if he beats Spence? That would be tough. But I think in all likelihood, I think everyone in the division is going to take like a little tune-up fight anyway. I think we already know that Spence is already fighting Danny Garcia. It's not in concrete, but I think that's the expectation at this point. And I think Crawford is looking at a couple of options. I think one of them is Sean Porter. Kell Brook threw his name in there to fight, to fight him. I think Kell Brook wouldn't be a favorite in majority of fights in the welterweight division, but he would give anybody problems.
Yeah.
If you can he got knocked out by Triple G, but if you could take a punch by a prime Triple G, even though you got knocked out, you really got knocked out because he shattered his orbital bone.
Yeah.
But-
If I could actually
go ahead.
add to what you were saying, I think with Quell Brook, he's a dangerous welterweight, just let alone by his physical appearance.
Yeah,
He's
he can.
lengthy,
I think he
tall.
could, and he barely makes 147. I think,
And that fight against Triple G, he had to go up in weight, which
and he looked good. His body looked good at that weight.
correct. For a natural welterweight, he normally does already look pretty bigger than what a welterweight usually looks like. But again, he went toe to toe with Triple G. Meanwhile, this was his first fight going up in weight division. So let alone at the 147 division welterweight, I don't see him having any struggles with any of these fighters. But does he have the it factor to win? That's a different story. But he could definitely go to toe to toe with these welterweights.
Absolutely. I think at the end of the day, everyone, like I said, is taking a tune-up fight. I think Crawford most likely is probably going to take a Porter fight, which I think is still dangerous for him. Because honestly, I don't think Crawford has fought an elite 147 fighter. I mean, the biggest name on his resume right now is Amir Khan, and Amir Khan is long in tooth. Who at this point, as good as he is, he just has a weak ass chin.
Glass jaw.
But to be fair, at least he fight. The one thing about Amir Khan that no one gives him credit for, he takes tough fights and he always makes it entertaining.
Yep.
So, listen, there's a lot of people with glass jaws that they get scared and they fight scared, and then on top of that, they take a lot of like soft touches unless it's a big payday. But credit to Amir Khan, he always takes tough fights and. He makes it entertaining for the most part. He was beating Canelo for the first 5 rounds before he got caught. So, but I would say when it comes to Pacquiao, most likely, I don't really want to see it, but most likely Mikey Garcia we're looking at.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's an okay fight. I just think that even though they're both like the same height, I think Mikey's just a tad bit taller. I think that it would be a great fight in terms of entertainment value, because, Mikey, counter puncher, but can mix it up. Pacquiao, he's just, explosive and really he likes, he's very crafty and he doesn't get hit clean a lot, but he likes to mix it up. I think, I think most of us would agree that Pacquiao probably takes that fight because I just think his footwork and his hand speed is, too much for Mikey. And I think he could probably take Mikey's punch easily. Because I just don't think Mikey's a true 147 fighter. Yeah.
My personal thoughts on that, Mikey Garcia, I think his normal division, his weight should be 140. That's
max.
Max, yes.
Max.
Correct. That's the division he took over. He had success in it. Being at 147, did it go up in division? I don't think so. We saw that against Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. just outboxed him. He didn't use much of his power, which it's hard to say because Errol Spence is naturally powerful, but yeah, we didn't see him, in my view, win one round. So, let alone potentially fighting.
He just couldn't
Pacquiao.
get to him.
Yeah.
He just couldn't get
No.
to him. I don't think it was. I mean, obviously, Spence really outboxed him, but I think he was just so big and so long that Mikey just could not get inside. And I thought Mikey was gonna have some type of success, hitting that right hand, but
No.
he was, being a shorter fighter and his best weapon is the straight right hand. If you're a shorter fighter fighting a lefty with a straight right hand, chances are they're gonna block it a lot, or they're just gonna get out of the way. You have to be in a very explosive fighter in regards to footwork and hand speed, like Pacquiao, and to get away with that against bigger fighters. I mean, Pacquiao can get away with it, but Mikey, he has, I guess we can say slightly above average hand speed and slightly above average, foot speed. I think he has excellent footwork, and his technical skills really, really on point. But he's nothing special in terms of physical abilities. I think that's what really held him back in that Spence fight. I wasn't surprised, but it was just like, oh yeah, he's just way too small. Even bulking up to 147, he didn't look solid. I mean, there's a lot of Mexican fighters who move up and they don't really look solid, unless you're Juan Manuel Marquez. When he fought Mayweather, by the way, when he fought Mayweather, he was like flabby, and then when he was fighting like Alvarado and Pacquiao, that's when he just like.
And remember, he went up 2 weight classes to fight Mayweather.
Mayweather, yeah,
So-
yeah, because I think the last fight before Mayweather was 135, and I think he went back to 135 or 140. I think after that.
That's just Kyle protecting Pacquiao at all means.
Yeah, man,
all means necessary. Always protecting Pacquiao.
Yo,
Always.
yeah, it was a good fight. I mean, it was a good fight. Marquez and Pacquiao. It's 4 of them. All 4 of them were great fights. The Mayweather Marquez, it was also similar case, just too small at that point. So, but the Mikey Garcia Spence fight, clearly he was just small. But I would love to see him against Pacquiao, same height. His style is very reminiscent of Marquez. I just don't think he has the punching power or the. He's very careful in a lot of ways.
That, and I don't think he has that timing when it comes to countering Pacquiao, because Pacquiao is just, let alone, very explosive.
Yeah.
And of course, it took Marquez 3 fights to get it down.
Yeah, and I don't think, honestly, I mean, I've never really seen, I know Mikey has a good chin and all,
Of course.
but Marquez has been knocked down, but we all know when Marquez gets knocked down, he becomes a better fighter.
Comes back.
Yeah, so I don't know if Mikey has that type of tenacity to really stay in the pocket and dig down and boogie with Pacquiao on the inside. I mean, not many people can boogie on the inside with Pacquiao unless you're much bigger or you have supreme counterpunching skills like Marquez. But that's the fight that we're most likely looking at. I think Pacquiao wins that, probably unanimous decision.
Who against Spence?
No, against Mikey Garcia.
okay.
Now, I mean, that would be fun to fight because when Pacquiao fights, the last time Pacquiao fought a lefty was David Diaz at 135, I think in 2008. But when Pacquiao fights lefty, he becomes more offensive. If you watch that fight, man, he was just, he loved throwing those right hooks. He likes throwing right hooks, but he's more judicious when he's fighting when he's fighting a righty. But when he's fighting a lefty, man, he just likes letting that the right hook go. So that would be fun against Spence. And, I think Spence is a lot bigger. Spence is stronger. But, at the same time, and I would get, to be fair, I would have Spence as the favorite in that fight. But, Pacquiao is extremely explosive and always causes problems for everybody, that would be the fight I would want to see. Against Crawford, I think Crawford also, he switches up. He mostly fights lefty. So it would be fun to see as well, to see, Pacquiao fight someone being more offensive. But those are the top 3 welterweights, and that's what's going on in the division. I think Porter ends up fighting Crawford as the tune-up fight. And if not that, then Kell Brook. But I think if Crawford fights Kell Brook, I think he should be careful because I think Kell Brook is really, really fucking good.
Yeah.
When he's locked in, he's really fucking good because he took apart Sean Porter.
And keep in mind, he did that with just a jab. His jab gave Sean Porter
Problems all day.
The whole night.
He's very sharp up the middle. He's not really creative offensively, but he's very sharp, going down the middle. you know, and in terms of defensive skill, I think he's also very sharp. So I think I would be careful if I was Crawford. I think Crawford is very crafty, so I think he would get around that and win. But I wouldn't be put it past anybody if it wouldn't be a surprise, or it wouldn't be a supremely surprise if Brooke beat Crawford. Anyways, switching gears, guys. NBA coming back. Season
Yes.
is coming back. I don't really consider it a real season to me.
It's tough.
It's not anybody's fault. It's the pandemic that's happening at this point right now. So it's really, it's a tough situation. But we have the NBA coming back. We're gonna have live games. No fans in attendance, of course. And they're playing in Orlando. I don't know what to expect, man. I really don't. We're having like a 10 game mini end of the regular season, and then we're going straight into like a tournament, right? I'm correct about that, right? Like that playoffs. It's like
Yes.
it feels more like a tournament.
Tournament.
like those soccer style tournaments in
Yes.
Europe than it actually does of
Like
like
a
a real
Champions
NBA
League.
season, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, what can I say? There's a lot of players that aren't playing.
Yep.
There's a lot of players that tested positive and they have to be in quarantine. They have a very strict bubble out in Orlando. So, it's tough. It's a tough situation, I think, for all players, considering that they have to leave their families in order to finish out the NBA season. In terms of favorites, who do you have winning this NBA championship? I don't consider it a real championship. So just FYI, if LeBron James and the Lakers win, I'm gonna just shit on them because I don't consider it a real season. Just like when they won in 2012, when the lockout season happened, I'll give them half credit. I give them half credit for that season. But anyways, go ahead. What are your opinions on that new NBA season coming up?
My opinions on this new format. I mean, hey, it's a little different, weird, but hey, considering after 3 months of not having the NBA, I'll take it at this point. Why not?
Yeah, it's like I caught myself watching women's water polo for like a solid 20 minutes.
Hey, that sounds cool, man. After 3 months,
Yeah.
I would too.
I think fans are just excited to see sports. We're just waiting on it. We've been waiting on it for a while. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how the season goes and how games go, how certain players, if they do test positive during this bubble, how people react to it. So
What's
be
the fucked up
exciting.
thing? Now, like during that bubble, like I'm wondering, are they gonna be getting buns this whole time or not?
From what I've been seeing plenty of fishing, getting haircuts, 2K, twitching.
Oh,
but
you definitely know
Call of Duty.
they're bringing in girls from Ace of Diamonds. They bringing in girls from what are the other Miami strip clubs that you went to, KJ?
11.
well, they're gonna be playing in Orlando. So
Yeah, but it's 3 hours away. They're gonna
coach bus.
Yeah, they're gonna put all
All
the girls in a
coach
coach bus and they're gonna ride them up over to Orlando. It's a 3 hour ride,
okay, so those strip clubs you guys were talking about.
Which
I'm
one?
just
What's the
kidding.
other one? What's the other strip
KJ,
club?
You know them.
Oh, they're gonna bring bottle girls from Live, so it's gonna be one of the, it's gonna be one of those things.
Something like that.
Okay, so the favorites, I guess
So-
we can say who
Oh yeah,
yes.
we didn't pick favorites.
Celtics, Lakers, who else?
Clippers.
Clippers.
That's my team. I'm
So
saying
that-
it from
that-
now
that's-
on.
that's
I'm
who you-
riding on the Clippers to win it
You're
all.
picking them to win it all,
Yeah.
Kyle.
I hate both LA teams, so I'm gonna go with the Boston Celtics.
Oh, you know they're getting demolished.
Nah, yo, Jason
They're gonna
Tatum.
get demolished.
Jason Tatum. Fuck, who else? They got Jason Tatum.
Kemba Walker.
Kemba Walker.
Yeah,
You know what?
Kemba.
Jalen Brown.
That lets you know how crappy a teammate Kyrie Irving is when the team was trash last year. Not trash, but like there was definitely a lot of disconnect in
you can
terms
see
of
a
playing style.
difference, for
And then
sure.
Kemba Walker, who from the Bronx, a New York dude. He's a team player. He's mad cool, right? He's not a drama queen like Kyrie. You see, they actually like playing together. They actually like playing together, and no one minds like Kyrie at times looked like he was gunning for 30 almost every game last year, and now you see like, hey man, whoever drops 40, that's what's up, or or none of us hit 20, but we won the game by like 20 points, so that's fine. You see like a passion in the Celtics before the season was suspended. You saw a passion in the Celtics players, you know that, and I think that's what's really going to carry them through the through the tournament. I think I have them as the favorites essentially.
But it won't get them past the Lakers if that ends up happening.
Oh please, man!
You know that.
Oh
Come
God,
on, man.
LeBron
So-
lover.
I'm a LeBron
So
bandwagon.
Gawk, gawk, for LeBron.
So KJ has always been a LeBron fan and a bandwagon all the time. So
Correct.
we're not surprised he said this.
Yeah, so you could be like, yo, kid, what's your favorite team? LeBron. LeBron James. Who's your favorite player? LeBron James. Who's your favorite organization? LeBron, James. So, I mean, hey, you know.
Team LeBron all the way.
all
By the way,
right,
guys.
all right. So we all have put in our favorite. Hey, MLB is coming back too. MLB is resuming. I guess a regional play. The Yankees and Mets had some preseason games, quote unquote. Like I guess scrimmage, right?
Yeah, what were they?
I think they were doing
Summer
scrimmage games.
camp.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing.
And everyone's having like their spring training at their
Home facility.
yeah,
right?
at their facilities. Yeah, so hey, I also don't consider it a real season, but at least they're gonna have a 60-game regular season. It's gonna be interesting. There's a lot of players also not playing. Not a lot, but there's players not playing this season.
Correct. I feel like just overall, every sport has a few of those players that opted out on a personal thing to not go ahead and play. which
Understandably
is,
so too.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
we all can agree that hey, if you don't feel safe and you want to keep your family safe, it's perfectly right.
Correct.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But how weird is it to have a regular season Subway series without actually being there? Subway,
fans.
no
Yeah,
fans, and
it's
there
gonna be
being people
trippy.
in the Subway for the Subway series. It's such a weird thing.
Yeah, but you know what though? I mean, if there is like a games at Shea Stadium with the Yankees, if they're like off the off chance that there's a Subway World Series again, think about we've had all the outdoor seating in Steinway. Think about how crazy that shit's gonna be outside of I guess City Field.
Outside
Fuck
the
that. I'm just gonna
stadium?
call it Shea Stadium Part 2. Okay, there's gonna be like bottle girls and hookah and security guards. They're gonna be all posted up right outside the stadium. It's gonna be lit. But yeah, that's gonna be crazy. A World Series with no fans.
Yeah, supposedly.
How does that sound to you? Tell me, how does that sound to you? A World Series with no fans?
Hey,
I don't mind it at all. If
No,
it's
it
for
sucks.
everyone to be safe
no,
and to
of
keep
course,
everyone
of
safe,
course, of
I don't
course.
mind it.
I mean, for the protocol aspect of it, of course, let there not be fans. Take as much time as they need for everything to go back to normal. But in terms of your guilty pleasure of actually being in a stadium watching a game, it sucks. I could recall being at a playoff series game 4 years ago with you guys.
Amazing.
No, 5 years ago against
The Yankees versus the Astros. I believe.
correct, one
Yeah.
of the best
Ga-
games.
Game 5.
Astros cheating ass.
Yes.
We all can agree because the Yankees worked them at Yankee Stadium.
Yes, and that is definitely worth a topic down the road for another podcast because that's a whole bunch of
What
crap.
podcast hasn't shitted on the
For
Astros at
real.
this point? Unless they're a Houston-based podcast, right?
But yeah, that game was electrifying. One of the best games that I ever been to in my life. Not just baseball, overall, any types of sports it was. But yeah, it's just gonna suck not getting that experience again.
Yeah. I mean, hey, but it's gonna be fun. Who do you have as the favorite for this season? Obviously, most people have the Yankees with the highest odds winning. I agree because I'm a Yankees fan, biased as fuck as well. But who do you think? Who do you have as your favorite for the championship this year?
Yeah.
I mean, once the season starts, we'll talk about baseball a little bit more.
I think
but-
we're all biased because we are
Yeah.
from New York, so it's kind of tough to
Yeah, my money
Choose
will
another
always be
team.
on the Yankees.
Yeah.
always.
So we all agree, Yankees winning the World Series. Fuck what you heard. New York all day. What
I
up?
mean,
What up?
I'm excited. I'm excited to see a lot of these players in the MLB, especially the young guys, the rookies, going into their second season. different teams like San Diego, the Los Angeles Angels. I'm excited to see all of them, all the young guys. I can't wait. I'm excited.
Well, anyways, you know, we also have this weekend. We have the UFC Fight Island. I think it's a fight night. I don't think it's an official like pay-per-view UFC, but you know, we have you know, a couple of good fights. Who am I kidding? It's really just the main event that's really popping. It's the main event, I believe, is Robert Whitaker and Darren Till moving from welterweight up to middleweight for a middleweight title fight. I'm sorry, not the title, a middleweight fight. I know you guys aren't as, you know, I'm not really a huge UFC fan, but I do watch it often because simply because like, hey, you know, if it's fighting, I'm intrigued. Robert Whitaker, former UFC middleweight champion who lost to Israel Adesanya in his last fight. He lost his championship then. You also have Darren Till, who was a welterweight force up until, you know, he lost against Woodley. He got knocked out by Street Jesus.
Masvidal, which he just fought
Usman.
two weeks ago, right?
Yeah. I mean, you know what? That whole pay-per-view was great, but the last one was okay. Yeah, because I think, you know, Masvidal was on a week notice. Usman is, you know, top 5 pound for pound fighter in UFC. So, you know, it kind of went the way I expected to. You know, but, you know, no fault to Gamebred. He, you know, he took a fight on a week's notice. You know, you got to commend him on that. He lost. I mean, partially, you know, I can't put 100% of the blame on him for that loss.
Yeah. That's respect, though. To
yeah,
take that fight in that very short notice.
Yeah, you wouldn't find that in boxing unless it's like, you know, like some type of like whack fight that's going on, or like, or unless you're Emmanuel Augustus. Remember him, Drunken Master boxer? Or he was also known as Emmanuel Burton. I forgot which one is his real name. I think he used to be Emmanuel Burton and changed it to Emmanuel Augustus. But he would take fights on like short notice. But yeah, you know, props to him. But you know, now we have this fight night, Whitaker versus Darren Till. 2 heavy-handed strikers. Darren Till is a little bit is very dynamic as a striker. Whitaker, good power, nothing special in one particular aspect, but all around barely has any weaknesses. I guess his only weakness was really, you know, Israel Adesanya. Adesanya was just beasting on him that night. You know, I know you guys don't know as much, but I would say I have Whitaker winning that fight by decision. It's 3 rounds when it's not a title fight. Sometimes they make exceptions. I don't know if it's a 5-round or a 3-rounder. If it's a 5-rounder, definitely Whitaker. If it's a 3-rounder, maybe Whitaker. What would you guys say? It's okay.
I mean,
hey, you know what? How about this? How about this? We'll watch it this weekend,
Yes.
and then we'll offer our opinions because
Yes.
you know, it's not, you know, UFC is not exactly our specialty, but you know what? We got to cover it, and on top of that, you know, hey, you know, MMA can be fun. You know, I have more of affinity to boxing, but you know, it can, you know, it is what it is.
No, for sure. I mean, as a boxing fan, and let alone just a combat sport, just fanatic. It's not that I don't watch it. It's just one of those things where I'm just getting into it. I'm just starting to watch it now. So little by little, guys, I'll definitely be more up to pace.
Yeah,
with
you know,
this UFC.
we'll watch the
Same
fights.
on my end.
Yeah, you know, the other 2 like undercards, like besides that, I'm just gonna run through it real quick. It's Mauricio Shogun Hua and Nogueira Rodrigo Nogueira. I know him. They're just 2 old guys fighting. That's basically it. They're just 2 very old guys. Mauricio Shogun Hua was UFC champion 10 years ago. He was the guy that John Jones beat to win the championship 10 years ago. And Nogueira, whatever, he's old too. I mean, maybe this fight would have been popping like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but it's not anymore. The second fight, we're going to have Fabricio Verdum versus Alexander Gustafsson at heavyweight. So Gustafsson is going from light heavyweight to heavyweight. He's the guy who gave John Jones the most problems in their first fight. he gave him a lot of serious problems in the first fight. So, you know, that's another fight versus Fabricio Verdum, another old guy. There's a lot of old Brazilians on this card. You know, I don't think much of it. I think Gustafsson wins, even though he retired last year, 2 years ago, and came back out of retirement. So, you know, see how it goes. You know, hopefully someone gets knocked the fuck out and we have it on fucking Twitter, you know, replaying over and over again.
Yep.
So it is what it is. Hey, listen, going back to boxing now, you know, our specialty here. So guys, there's been a lot of talk about comebacks. I'm assuming coronavirus has a lot of people, you know, in their minds, you know, having dreams and fantasies during their boredom. So listen, we've had Mike Tyson flooding the timelines with his training, right?
Yes, but he's looking great. If you see how of a monster he is in these videos when he's doing mitts and his physique appearance,
I mean, yeah,
he's
you know,
shredded.
watching the old videos of Mike train, and seeing the new videos of Mike train, you know, there's a lot of parallels. Obviously, you know, Mike got in some fantastic shape. He lost a lot of weight. He looks fantastic at his age. But you know what? It's a fantasy at the end of the day. The man is 50 years old. Like, do we really, like, I mean, as much as we romanticize Mike Tyson's heavyweight reign, do people also forget how it ended as well? Granted, he was, you know, he probably doing a lot of drugs and shit like that. And
Which he admitted to.
yeah, you know, he was dog shit crazy too on top of that. So it is what it is. He's also a 50-year-old man. I don't think anyone should take him seriously in terms of like fighting a top contender. Do I think that he could beat someone like Alexander Povetkin? Maybe. Maybe could he beat somebody? I don't think he could beat, at this point, he could beat like a Derek Chisora or a, who's the other British guy? I think they fight Chisora versus,
There's
oh man, I
well,
forgot his name.
I can name a few heavyweights British fighters. Dillian White.
Dillian White, there you go. Dillian White is the, I don't think he can beat him at this point.
No.
Maybe put him against a washed up heavyweight. Yeah, I think he could maybe beat him, but it wouldn't be a guarantee.
I think for his age and what he's trying to do, definitely not take up anybody that's competitive. Currently, I think it's more like a Hollywood celebrity kind of thing, or even fighting somebody like Shannon Briggs or somebody.
Oh,
like,
I mean, Shannon Briggs, what, on or off the juice?
well, what he is now, I don't know if he's on the juice or off the juice.
I don't know. He's also ape shit crazy, you know, too. So
Yeah.
maybe we get a fight of old retired fighters.
Correct.
There was also whispers of Lennox Lewis wanting to come out of retirement. I think he was joking more than anything. But you know, they were talking about that. De La Hoya was talking about how he wouldn't mind, like he still thinks that he could do damage at 154. Let me tell you this right now.
I don't know.
Hell
about that.
no.
Nope.
154. I mean, and don't get me wrong, the Charlo brothers are nice, but they have a lot of weaknesses, you know. And there's like, you know, there's Jerson Rosario. I think that's the guy who beat J Rock. Remember J Rock fought that some Spanish cat? I think it was he got knocked out by Jason Rosario.
Yes. Yeah. From
Yeah.
Philly fighter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool guy. Cool
Yeah.
guy.
So I think you know, I think anybody in the top 10 whoops
Yeah,
De La Hoya's
no,
ass at this point right now. You know, he's
No, I don't know if they're saying this to get cameras or to get clickbaits for articles, but in the end of the day, especially De La Hoya, as much as I loved him watching growing up, but no, stick to promoting, stick to your fighters in your promotion, because apparently what's going on, it's bad chemistry already, even with Ryan Garcia speaking out. So I would say, you know what? Do little with the I want to come back and fight, and just worry about your staple and your company. That's it.
yeah. It's listen, if you're out of the game for 10 years, you're not gonna get back in the game. You know, it's a young men's sport, and although we have guys like Pacquiao and
Except
Bernard
for
Hopkins, you know, they were active. They didn't take any long layoffs. So I think we could just like close the book on these fantasy comebacks. You know, I think that at the end of the day, it is what it is, a fantasy. So, it is what it is. The other thing the other division that was hot that we touched on earlier, the lightweight division, 135. You know,
135.
also like honestly, I think we can bunch up all the fighters from 126 to 135 because it's very interchangeable with a lot of these fighters. A lot of fighters moving up, going down. So at 135, obviously we have Lomachenko's the king in terms of name recognition and in terms of accolades. We have Teofimo Lopez in terms of rising star power. You have some dark horses in there as well. Linares is always a tough out for anybody. Unless he moves up to 140, then you probably get his ass whooped. But anything at 135 and below, he's always been a tough out. At the end of the day, we know what fights are coming. The big fights that are coming, we know that it's going to be Lomachenko versus Lopez. I don't think it's 100% concrete, but it's pretty much like a done deal in terms of them
Yeah.
fighting. You also have Tank Davis. I think Tank was supposed to fight, what's his name?
Javante, right?
No,
Yeah.
Amir Maris.
Abner Mares. Yeah, he
Abner
was supposed to
Mares,
fight
yeah.
Abner Mares. That got canceled because of Corona. Abner Mares also a tough out. I think that supposed to happen on 130 or 135. I think it was 130 they were supposed to fight.
Well, Gervonta Davis, if I'm not mistaken, he's still.
He went from
currently
130 to 135.
I think he's still 130, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I think he was deciding to move up at that point.
Yeah, and everybody was around his camp. For what I was hearing is they were suggesting him to go up to 135 because his last few fights he didn't look too comfortable in that weight or even making weight for that division. And
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, in one weigh-in he had a re-go weigh-in because he just couldn't make it. So he had to cut weight, go back, and it was just a problem.
I mean, we know that he's there as well. He's also has star potential.
He's explosive. He's an explosive fighter.
Explosive lefty. Then there's like these 130 champions. We have Tevin Farmer, former 130 champion. We have Jojo Diaz, right? Jojo Diaz, right?
Jojo Diaz,
Who beat Tevin Farmer recently in a great fight.
Yeah.
Great fight. They've been talking about a rematch, but not sure if that's in concrete. You have 130 mainstay Miguel Burchelt, who's been champion at 130 for a while now. I think he's been champion for like 4 or 5 years now.
Yep.
And then we have guys like from 126 who are moving up to 130. Shakur Stevenson said that he's planning to move up to 130 now.
Which he looked great in his last fight too. It was 4 weeks ago actually. He fought
Oh yeah.
in one of those first few fights that Top Rank made recently.
Yeah. He was supposed to fight Mariaga, I think, right?
Yes, but then he
Yeah, that-
tested positive, was it?
I don't know. I think they just canceled the fight outright. Yeah. That was, I think, supposed to happen in March, I believe. But there's a lot of good fighters at 126, 130, and 135. A lot of them also talking a lot of shit on Twitter as well. Kind of tired of it, honestly. Kind of tired of like seeing fighters like just talk shit on Twitter. Like, it's like not only you're acting like children, but also at the same time, it's like I don't want to see you fight on Twitter. I want to see you fight in the ring.
Correct. I think the biggest one that we could agree on is Ryan Garcia.
Oh God.
Yeah, let's get back to him. You guys were talking about him earlier.
Well, apparently, as of late, they were considering Ryan Garcia to fight a potential fight with Luke Campbell.
Yep.
135,
Which I hope it happens.
Yep.
I'm not saying that he'll lose. I think he's the favorite, justified favorite to beat Luke Campbell, but Campbell has experience. Campbell. I mean, yeah, he lost to Lomachenko, but he didn't look bad. I think if Ryan Garcia goes in overconfident, he's gonna be surprised because he has literally fought nobody. And yet it seems like everyone thinks that he's the next best thing. At least with De La Hoya, he was a Olympian, gold medalist, I believe.
He was.
And, you know, he had a lot of hype, you know, but at least he backed it up. And he also fought some of the best fighters of his era. I mean, he lost a lot of them, but he fought the best fighters of his era. Ryan Garcia just has a social media following, and that's about it, I think, right?
Yep.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And don't forget, he has YouTube friends that play boxing as well. So I guess that's another following for him too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just seen him all over social media.
Yeah, he's just, he's there.
I will have to say though, my match that I would love to see will be Linares against Ryan Garcia. Just because I would
Definitely.
love to see Linares put
Put the brakes on him.
yeah,
I mean,
you said it best.
here's the thing, you know, do I think Ryan Garcia is talented? Hell yeah. Do I think he has star potential? Yeah, absolutely. Do I feel like all this hoopla around him is justified? Not at all. Not even close. You know, it's funny. It's like in the world of social media and superficiality, it's, you know, if you're a good-looking kid and you do fucking TikTok videos, all of a sudden, you know, you're gonna be fucking popular as shit. So, you know, just like Instagram and Twitter, you know, it's really all superficiality, and that's what really Ryan Garcia is at this point. His superficiality outweighs his actual talent right now. But do I think he's talented? Hell yeah. You know, I think he's tremendously talented. I think his excellent hand speed, you know, he has a great left hook, you know. He has a great, you know, drop it down right hand. And I think that, you know, with the right type of training, and I think, you know, hooking up with Canelo's trainers, the Reynoso brothers, I think it's going to really help him out a lot. And, you know, he could be a force, but everyone talking about him like he's fucking Floyd Mayweather, like the next coming of Floyd Mayweather. Nah, chill. We need to chill on that.
No, for sure. And me seeing him live at the Garden, up close, ringside, yeah, I mean, I'm not taking any credit off of him. He's very fast, like you said. He has a great left hook. But for him to be really outspoken when he hasn't really fought anybody competitive,
Exactly,
I
yeah.
think that's our just, I guess, disagreement here. But
Yeah, definitely right. You know, I mean, hey, it's interesting. You know, the divisions in there. You know, you can throw. There's at least like 15 names that can fucking mix it up amongst each other. You know, we have Abner Mares, Leo Santa Cruz, Carl Frampton still hanging out there, Josh Warrington, the champion at 126, Navarrete. Is
El Vaquero, Navarrete,
your
yes.
cousin,
yes.
your cousin. I think he's moving from 122 to
Navarrete,
126 at
yes,
this point, right?
which, keep in mind, in 2019, he had 6 fights throughout that one
Yeah,
year.
he was really active.
He's very active. I seen him also at the Garden, and man, he looked great.
Yeah. You know, Ray Vargas also. I think he's 122, I believe, right now. Ray Vargas, he's there. You got you know, like I said, Javante Loma, Teofimo Lopez, Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis, Tevin Farmer, Jojo Diaz, Miguel Bachel. It's like 15 names that you could easily mix and match, and they're all great fights.
And let's not forget about Oscar Valdez too.
Valdez, I think he's the champion. He's also a champion of 130 as well, right? Valdez is there. You know, like really, you could just like put these names in a hat and just like pull out 2 names, and that would be a great fight.
Correct.
Out of all these fighters, which fight would you find most intriguing?
Good question. Off the back, I think the fight you mentioned earlier will be Lomachenko against Teofimo. I think that, let alone, like you said, it's a beast. Somebody that's already conquered that division, 135, against an uprising fighter, which has, the flashy moves. When he fights in, he's not scared to get like dirty and rugged. He's gonna slug it out. So that could be definitely a good fight at 135. 130, we're talking Oscar Valdez, right? Going up against maybe a Jojo Diaz.
That would be a good fight.
Yeah, great
Because
fight.
they both don't have a lot of power, but they have, and their both defense is not all that great. So it would just be like banging at each other.
Correct. It will
Yeah.
be constant warriors, back and forth, toe to toe.
Yeah.
I think off the back, those are the 2 fights on each division that I think will be good for all of us.
Yeah,
for us fans.
definitely right. Definitely right.
How about you, Kyle?
I would say just so I can see them try to knock the shit out of each other. In terms of skill, I would say Miguel Burchell and Tank Davis at 130 would be a great one. Also, you know, you always put like Leo Santa Cruz versus like, you know, I would say I would like to see Josh Warrington and Leo Santa Cruz. Even though I know Leo is at 130 now. That would be another fight I would like to watch. Also, Tank versus Ryan Garcia at 130, because you know I don't like either of them, and you know just to see them beat the shit out of each other would be fun to watch. I wouldn't root for anybody. I would root for a double knockout. But yeah, that would be fun to watch as well. You know, so my brother, yeah, I know you don't know a lot of these boxers, but
I mean, as far as matchups, I'm not sure who I would like to see, but as far as fighters that I do want to see fight, I would like to see Lomachenko because he's so exciting to watch the times that I've watched him. Like you said, Tank Davis, and Ryan Garcia. I just want to see those fights. Whoever they do fight, I'll be excited to watch it.
shit with it.
For
I'll be
sure.
with it for that. You know, we were talking about like you know a lot of intriguing matchups and all that stuff, and you know I think you know everyone plays this game, mythical matchups, right? This is definitely going to be a mainstay in our podcast, absolutely. So you know, I threw a couple of matchups at you. You know, KJ, my brother's not as well versed, but you know what? You know, he always like you know I always put him on whenever I'm watching stuff. He'll watch it as well. But
I'll take my pick though.
all right.
So name the matchups. and
All right, so
we'll pick and choose.
I threw out 5 matchups, guys. All right. The first one we're talking, we're gonna go real. I mean, we're gonna run through these, but let's see. All right, we're gonna have Terrence Crawford versus Tommy the Hitman Hearns at 147.
If I go first, I would off the back pick Thomas Hearns.
Yeah.
Slugger, prime fighter in his age, forget about it.
Yeah, I just definitely think length and power would give Crawford problems because at the end of the day, Crawford has never really fought someone like bigger than him. He's always been the bigger guy, and he's gonna start running into problems like 147. You know, I think is his limit. I think at 154, I think either Charlo brothers can beat him. I think you know, most of the 154 fighters can beat him. Because someone like even though he's such a great fighter and you know he's so adaptable, I just think there's a certain point where you cannot overpower the guy. Like yeah, you can outsmart him. I just don't think he has like that specific type of hand speed and leg speed and foot speed to kind of like outmaneuver these guys. Like he can outmaneuver them in terms of like boxing ability, but I think that's the limit in regards to like physical ability and using that against his opponents. Tommy Hearns, one of the biggest welterweights of all time, a huge super welterweight too, and even a big middleweight. When he went up to middleweight, he was a big middleweight too. You know, he was taller. He was way taller than Hagler. I think he just bangs out Terrence Crawford. Probably say TKO in the 10th round. I would say. A lot of people would say I'm just hating on Terrence Crawford, and maybe I'm a little bit of a hater, but I also say Terrence Crawford has really beaten nobody. If you look at his resume, it's really other than Amir Khan. I mean, yeah, he unified the 140 division, but the 140 division was so weak. Like all the guys that he beat for all the belts were beaten by other guys before and or after he beat them. So there weren't anybody special in there. I actually think the 140 division is a lot better now than it was when he was at 140. And he also beat what's his name again? The guy who fought Tank Davis on one leg, the Cuban cat.
Yes, Gamboa.
Gamboa, yeah.
Yes.
And Gamboa was giving him problems
gave
too.
him problems,
And that was
yep,
I think that was in 2016 or 14, and that was at 135, I believe.
Yes, Gamboa definitely gave
Terrence
him-
Crawford problems, yeah. And he was a lot bigger than Gamboa too.
Correct. And I feel like in general, Gamboa gives anybody
Yeah,
problems.
yeah.
He was a very crafty fighter. Yeah, I gotta agree with everything you said about Crawford and Thomas Hearns, I think that will play out just the way you just said it.
Yeah, I think just, Tommy just touches him up with the jab and then eventually just bangs him out with the right hand and swings to the body. That's what I think. Other guy, Errol Spence
So,
Jr.
Yes, we got
against-
the second Sugar Ray Leonard.
Yeah, that would be a
Sugar
great
Ray.
fight.
Yes.
I think it would be a little tighter than Crawford versus Leonard, but I think just Sugar Ray Leonard just outboxes him. I just think he just simply outboxes him. I think it's a unanimous decision. Even though I think Spence is great, I think just in terms of just like, work rate and skill and speed, I think that he would give Spence a lot of problems. And I think that, Sugar Ray Leonard would fight smart enough to never get himself in trouble, really. Do I think that he would get banged on? Yeah, there'll be points where Spence would probably like corner him, and and especially being a lefty, he would probably pose some problems for Ray Leonard as well. But I think once Ray finds his range and finds his in and out movement against Spence, I think he would just give Spence problems after like the fourth round. After that, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, agreed. I think Sugar Ray Leonard in his time, especially being those four main welterweights fighters in those 80s, he basically took on bigger opponents.
Yeah.
In Duran and Tommy Hearns and Hagler. And it goes to show that he could go the distance, not just 12 rounds, 13, 14, 15. Of course, Spence, we seen him box against Mikey Garcia. So we know he could box. He will box against a fighter like Sugar Ray Leonard. But the difference is Sugar Ray Leonard, like you said, he has the foot, the foot speed.
Yeah.
He will use that against Spence and use his speed for his advantage, and I think that would be the big difference in the fight. I personally would envision it being very, very close, but very split decision would be Ray Leonard.
All right, that makes sense. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. The next matchup, we're talking about Pacquiao versus Roberto Duran. Now, this would be tricky because it depends on which weight class would they fight at, because they've both known to go up and down the scales, right? So at lightweight, 135, I think Duran knocks out Pacquiao. At 147, I think Pacquiao gets a unanimous decision. I just think that at 135, I think Duran's power and Pacquiao's size at 135, I think eventually he would just bang him to the body and really like just get inside. I think it would be a great fight, by the way. I think it would last maybe like 8 rounds. And I love Pacquiao, but I think at 135, I think he would have serious problems against Duran's inside-out movement. At 147, however, I think Pacquiao's added weight and bulk would have him more prepared for Duran, and Duran would be a little bit slower at 147. I mean, Pacquiao's, even though Pacquiao's power isn't as dynamic at 130, I mean, like at 135 and 140 at the lighter weights, I think that he just has enough power to buzz you, and drop you. He has that type of power where he just knocks you down and you're like, how the fuck did that happen? It's not really like knocks you clean out like you did with Ricky Hatton. But I think that at that weight, that type of sturdiness at 147 and, that type of speed that he has, I think he gives Duran a lot of problems. And I think Duran wouldn't be able to like just trap him as easily as he would at 135.
Agreed. I think he said it best. And yeah, my winner would definitely be 135. It will be Duran, and 147 will be Pacquiao.
Yeah. I think most people would agree with that. I mean, even though me as a Pacquiao, homer, I love Pacquiao. We all know, but I'm being honest as well. A really good matchup. I would, if there was some way to make this happen, Canelo versus Hagler at 160.
Ouch.
That would be a fantastic fight.
Two sluggers.
Yes, I think Hagler's a slugger. Canelo is a banger. He's an intelligent banger.
He will counter. He's very smart, on a strategic wise.
Yeah.
He will definitely counter you. Will box you out. Will be slip and roll. Hagler will be more of a slugger. He will come at you
Yeah. Even though Hagler was an underrated boxer as well, he was pretty smart as well.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. I think just off the fact that Canelo, like you said, he's a very smart fighter. He will slip and roll. He'll parry, go to the sides. We seen this against Triple G. His last fight against. Can you name the fighter? for me?
Kovalev?
Yeah. Yes, Kovalev. Yes, yes. Even though Kovalev was winning those first 6
Yeah, he was.
rounds.
Yeah, he was winning that fight actually. Yeah.
Canelo, man, his power came up and showed it. But yeah, I think slightly edge it out to Canelo. I think I will give it to him.
I think that's fair. I guess depending on my mood, I would most of the time pick Canelo. The only difference I would say, is that with Hagler, he had such a good fucking chin. Like, he got hit by bombs by, Hearns and Leonard, and he was just like, I'm good, And I think he has a lot of Triple G in him, in a way. You could say he's a better lefty version of Triple G.
Yeah.
Even though, and Triple G is an excellent fighter, I take nothing away from him. A lot of people hate on Triple G for some strange reason. I think he's one of the, best middleweights of all time, considering his longevity.
Correct.
And he always fought people who were willing to fight him.
Correct. He had one of the longest title defense range in our era.
I mean, yeah, he didn't fight a lot of great fighters earlier, but once he started getting the fights, he took them. There was no problem. I think he's a better lefty version. Hagler's a better lefty version than Triple G, and I just think that that Canelo can outbox him, and I think Canelo would outpoint him. But something about the first Triple G fight and how he was just jabbing on him, and kind of like Canelo kind of just like gassing out. I think that somewhere in my mind, Hagler just gasses him out. And not knocks him out, but gasses him out and just outworks him over time. It depends. Depends on my mood of the day. But I say it's a toss-up. At the end of the day, that would be a toss-up.
Correct.
Yeah. The last matchup we were talking about, I'm pretty sure many people have covered it. You have Tyson Fury versus his namesake, Mike Tyson. That's kind of tough because it was such a different era of heavyweights. Like back then, it was more like very athletic, very dense, muscularly dense guys.
Bulky.
Not so tall, but like just guys who were in excellent shape. Those heavyweights were in excellent shape back then. And they were a lot better boxers than, I think Tyson Fury, in terms of boxing skill, matches with a lot of heavyweights of the past. But the heavyweights now are more like they have their athletic and physical ability is what brings them out rather than their actual boxing skill. Mike Tyson, 5'10", Tyson Fury, 6'7". That's fucking interesting. Tyson Fury, a great boxer. Mike Tyson was a great boxer in his beginning of his career and then just turned into kind of like a knockout artist. It's kind of tricky. I think Tyson Fury wins, but then I also think Mike Tyson probably knocks him out via body punch. Or just knocks him out, just in general. I think he just works to the body very easily, I think that just Tyson Fury, as great as he is and as big as he is, I think just a prime Mike Tyson would really work inside to the body. But also part of me says Tyson Fury takes him into deep waters and just, tires him out,
Agreed. It's definitely one of those fantasy matchups that's hard to really say this person will win or that person will win by slight advantage. I think if you look at Mike Tyson, like you said, his advantage is he will work the inside perfect. Those hooks, those uppercuts will give Tyson Fury a run for his money. But Tyson Fury, his advantage to this fantasy matchup will be he has the length. He's a very tricky fighter. He slips, he rolls, he'll out-jab you. The same way he did with Deontay Wilder. So it's hard to say. I think that's the biggest toss-up for me.
Yeah.
I can't really say Mike Tyson will win it or Tyson Fury will win it.
I say 6 times out of 10 Tyson Fury wins.
Yeah,
But
that's
the other
fair.
4 times, Mike probably knocks him the fuck out. So,
That's fair to say too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
all right. Well, the last topic of the day of our inaugural podcast, this maiden voyage that us three are partaking on. The last topic I wanted to cover for this particular podcast, we have athletes taking a stand against Donald Trump. Let's just put it out for the podcast right now. I believe in having your political beliefs, and I'm not the type to be like, oh, you're an evil person if you vote for Trump, or do I think you're misguided? Hell yeah, but I'm not gonna be the type to be like, oh, you're evil. I'm very liberal, but I'm not extreme liberal. I'm not like one of those, white chicks in burning her bra, saying that, saying like, oh, we need equality. I mean, like white women get the most advantage, we could say white women get more advantage than people of color. And don't get me wrong, nothing against white women at all. It's I just think that there's a lot of like white women who also don't check their privilege. Who kind of forget, like, you're a lot of liberal white women out there, but they also kind of forget, like, hey, you guys still have a lot of privilege that you guys don't even realize. And I'm not the type to call out privilege because I'm not in that game. But at the end of the day, my opinion is fuck Donald Trump. I respect you if you're a Republican for your ideals, but if you're a Republican who just loves Donald Trump just because of who he is, you're going to be a hypocrite in a lot of ways, and you're going to be also blindly following him.
I mean, has he ever played any type of sports? Honestly,
You've seen this goofy fat ass? He only plays golf, all right?
What?
He only plays rich white people sports, just golf. But, so, we have a lot of black athletes. And,
Hold on. This is just to cut you off. This is a quote specifically made by him. He said, "Anytime I witness a player kneeling during the national anthem, a sign of great disrespect for our country and our flag, the game is over for me." Trump wrote.
That's what he wrote? Okay, well, how about you don't fucking watch them? The only people that care about his opinion are the people who are like, my favorite thing is this. You have a lot of white people, conservative white people down south that love football, right? And they have no problem cheering for black people when they're scoring touchdowns for their team, right? They have no problem, rooting for Spanish dudes when they're hitting home runs for their team. But when they want to make a political stand, when they feel wrong, it's like, oh, how dare you? You're lucky to be making this money in this country. How dare you do that and disrespect the game and disrespect America? I'm like, freedom of speech was an important thing, in America. Maybe it still is. And, the first thing that people complain about is conservatives. They say that, oh, yeah, my freedom of speech is being restricted because all these liberals are always so upset of everything. And don't get me wrong, in some ways I get it, because I think that a lot of liberals, they get caught up in fighting for small things and vilifying people who kind of like either made mistakes or in the past, or kind of like said something as a joke, not really as like to be on purpose to hurt someone's feelings. And they like attack, like, a lot of like extreme liberals like will attack other liberals because they want to out liberal the liberal, right? But a lot of like conservative white people always talk about, oh, my freedom of speech is being restricted by these liberals. I'm like, well, what about the fucking black athletes who are just kneeling, right? They're showing they're just
Harmlessly.
And don't get me wrong, when I first heard, before I understood the context, when I first heard Colin Kaepernick kneel or like wasn't around for the national anthem, my thing is like, oh, like, okay, that's how selfish is he? But then there was context. Then he explained why. And then I'm like, yeah, I completely understand. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's, it's not a big deal. He's not doing anything. He's not hurting anybody. And, he's just trying to prove a point. Now, maybe are there some things that I don't agree with? Like, for example, when he wore the Fidel Castro shirt, which I don't agree with whatsoever. Yeah, but I think for the most part, his message is clear, like, hey, how about we just have the police stop beating the shit out of black people? How about that? You know, or and we've had our own issues with police before. You know, I've been racially profiled. I've been I've been treated like shit by cops. I don't think all I think I believe in good cops, and I believe that we need to have police. You know, I don't think that like I'm not one of those people who are like, oh yeah, we have to have a policeless society. We don't need police. Be like, yeah, okay. How about you trying to go into the Bronx with no cops as your protection? That shit ain't happening to me. I'm not going to the Bronx at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm not going to the Heights at 3 o'clock in the morning if I know cops aren't around. Fuck that shit. But I do believe in police reform. I believe there's a lot of old past mistakes that manifest in how policing is done in today. If you think about it, a lot of police higher ups that are commissioners and really high in the totem pole, they come from an era where open racism was fine. And yeah, they can say as much as they want, yeah, it's not a big deal, but you were raised to do your job in a racist way, you know? And it's gonna manifest in how you direct these orders that have, beginnings during those racist pasts that affects the community now, you know? At the end of the day, people who do, regardless of your profession, if you do a good job, you should be commended for it. And if you're bad at it, you should be fired.
True.
You know? And, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of pieces of shit out there in the street, black, white, Spanish, that don't deserve fucking, any type of kindness from cops or even us, They don't deserve that shit. But then there's also times where if you commit a crime, remember, there's a punishment that fits the crime. So if you're selling Lucy's on the street, I mean, yeah, you're not supposed to do that. Yeah, we all agree you're not supposed to do that. The cops come and be like, all right, fuck it. All right, let me go dip. But does it mean that you have to die? Does it mean that the cop has to kill you, whether it's on purpose or by accident? Do you deserve that? Not at all. Because what's the point of laws? We have proper, punishments for people who break the law, if I was fucking, out in the street, shooting a gun, right? I mean, just to be on the safe side, I'm probably going to end up getting shot by a cop because I could endanger somebody. They don't know if I'm crazy or not. Yeah. If I have a gun and I'm shooting at, yeah, okay, then yeah, I can get shot. But if I don't have a gun and if I'm just like fucking selling, if I was, selling weed, if I was selling weed in the street, yeah, I would get arrested. But does that mean I fucking get shot? Nah. I think we can all agree on that. So going back to these protests is just people, just sitting down, kneeling down and trying to prove a point respectfully, respectfully. It's not about the flag and all that stuff. Enough with this flag shit. It's just a way for people to be like, oh yeah, you're disrespectful to this country. I'm like, oh yeah? Word? That's disrespectful? Okay, well, Donald Trump fucking sided with Russians over our country. So you can go take that shit and run it up your ass. What are your personal opinions? I wanted a quick story, I know I was rambling on for so long, but let's put it like this. Me, Raul, and my cousins driving to Atlantic City, going through some random neighborhood because we got off the highway, right? Fucking, we get pulled over by a cop because we were speeding. Okay, that's fine. We were speeding by like 15 miles, whatever. Cop asked for my license and registration. I give it to him. He looks inside. He sees a car full of Asians, right? Filipinos, specifically. And then he sees the one Mexican guy who is sitting in the back seat, right? Nothing to do with driving. And the cop asks, do you have your identification? And that's fucked up, man. It's like, yo, come on. Like, you choose the one Mexican cat. This is 2016, might I?
That's not even sitting in the passenger seat.
Yeah,
sitting in the
he's
back
sitting in the
seat.
back seat. And saying,
Might
do
add.
you have your identification? White cop, might add. White cop from Jersey. And of course, it's the one day Raul forgets his wallet.
Yep.
So
The
Raul,
icing of the cake.
you know what's my favorite? When he made you write your name
And Social
and
Security
So
in a
just to
paper.
confirm that you were not an illegal, essentially.
Wow.
Correct. So
He didn't say it, but he could have easily done that to anyone in the car, but he specifically chose the one Mexican in the car.
And this is the thing. It's not like I was looking like a
A thug or anything?
thug or
You
a
in the back seat.
rascal. I think I looked the whitest as I could possibly look.
Yeah.
Bow shoes, cargo shorts, button-up shirt. But
He could have, but it also could have been the taco and burritos that you
Yeah,
were
and the
eating.
Coronas,
And
too.
the Coronas, yeah.
Yes.
And the sincronizadas.
yes.
How do you
so-
say that word, by the way?
Well,
That food on the taco truck, sincronizadas.
don't know what you're talking about.
Nigga, it's right there, bro. It's on the truck.
I don't know what you're
Oh
talking
my
about.
god! All right, fine.
But going back to this story, at first, my first reaction was, "This is fine. I mean, let me just give him what he wants." But everybody around the car was just looking at me in shock and just telling me, "Wow, that was fucking racist." And once I really thought about it, it came to a conclusion. I'm like, "Wait, yeah, it is kind of racist, right?"
Yo, it was like that moment, like Chappelle said, like, you ever see something so racist, you're not even mad, you're just like, God damn, that was racist.
yes,
That
yes.
was like that moment in the car. Like, even like, remember Dean? Was Dean in the car?
Yes.
Dean,
Yeah.
his girlfriend, and Leanne? No, not Leanne.
I think Leanne was in
Was it
the
Leanne?
car. as well.
Okay, yeah, I think it
yeah.
was Leanne. And it was like, we're all like, damn, that's racist. Yo, holy shit. We weren't even mad. We were just like, wow, that was just like blatant.
But you know, the funny thing is, after I got over the fact that it was potentially racist, I really wanted to joke about the situation. Once he gave me the pen and paper, because my dumbass forgot my wallet at home. Going to AC, by the way.
Of course, going to Atlantic City, that
where
one time you
need
forget your
ID
wallet.
and
Yeah.
your credit cards. But yeah, I wanted to write down as my address your mom's house.
Oh, no,
My
oh.
first and last name, El Chapo
And
Jr.
Chapo Jr.
Just to get a kick out of it, just to get a laugh at it. But just saying this around the car and everybody's faces and the reaction was, no, don't do it. And it came down to a thought of mine is, you know what, they're right. Because I don't know how this cop is going to react
Yep.
to what malicious intentions he has.
Man.
Also, somebody that he sees that is not his same skin color. Somebody
Yeah.
that looks a little
I was
different.
some white bread, white boy that stopped us. Yeah.
Correct. So I said, you know what? Yeah, I'm not gonna make this a joking matter. I'm just gonna be serious. Gave him my full information. He went back to his car.
I think it was also shock. Like you were just like shocked. Like I think at the moment you were just like you were doing it because you're like, clearly I'm American, right? Clearly I belong here. But I guess you were like, okay, I don't have my wallet. Okay, I get it. But you're like, clearly I'm American. Clear. And then I think once we left and we're like, damn, that's racist. You were like, yeah, that was really fucking racist. It was so racist, it shocked you into not realizing how racist it was.
Correct. And I think one thing that we're so fortunate, being in New York and being in Queens, we have so much culture. It's like a melting pot of just.
Yeah, that's the reason why we all love being part of Queens because everyone gets together. You have Asians, Indians, Bengalis, Black people, Spanish
Spanish,
people from all types of
Irish.
countries, Irish. We
Tibetans.
yeah, we Tibetans. Yeah, you're right.
Asians.
We have Queens County. The borough of Queens is the most diverse county of all United States.
Correct.
We speak the most languages in one area in all of the United States. Not just Queens. I'm not talking about the other boroughs. I'm talking about just Queens.
Correct. So being from Queens and everything we just expressed, I never experienced some sort of racism, any in terms of being distant from somebody's race. No, because we grew up with Bangladesh,
Yeah.
kids from South Korea, from the Philippines, from
Tibet.
Tibet. So we never looked at us like different cultures. No, we were all just one. So just leaving our comfort zone from Queens and going into New Jersey, it was a wake up call. It definitely made me realize, like, shit, I'm definitely not home for sure.
It helps you learn about life outside of Queens and
Yeah.
how
Like, could you imagine like being raised in Nebraska or like Alabama? I have no problem going to the Bronx at 3:00 in the morning. If that was a choice over being in like Alabama, you'd be like, what? I'll take what Southside Jamaica Queens at what 3:30 in the morning, in front of a Caribbean club. I take that any day of the week over being any part of Alabama or any part of Nebraska, you know. And you know, it's a fear, you know. I have a genuine fear of the South, and I'm not even black. I'm not even black, and I have a genuine fear of the South. You know, you know, it's the crazy thing. You know, we've been raised around all types of races. You know, me and my brother, we have a white god brother. You know, and his father is like an uncle to us. You know, and he's a former detective. You know, he was also raised around all types of races. And I guess you can say he's a well-adjusted white boy. You know, my brother, I mean, my god brother and my uncle, you know, they're both like well-adjusted white boys because they had exposure to other races and whatnot, you know. And I think in New York, like, that's why we make all these like jokes, like we make racist jokes in our groups of friends, because I think it's like, we know it's like when we're friends, you know, we all shit on each other. So like, you know, some people make Mexican jokes, we'll make Filipino jokes, you know, and when you're with like other friends, we'll make black jokes, we'll make white jokes, you know, because we have an exposure to all these races. And imagine being raised in like Mississippi, if you're like a white person in some like backwoods county, you don't have any exposure except to maybe a few black people. And those few black people are probably descendants of people that were hung by your descendants, you know, as a white person in Mississippi, if you were raised there. So it's crazy shit. And then at the end of the day, you have someone like Donald Trump, who's not even from the South. He's from New York. He's from Queens, unfortunately, which is fucking disgusting to me. But I feel ashamed. That's like one of the few things to be ashamed about, being from Queens. But like, you know, he was just typical rich white boy, New York City. Like people like, we talk about New York City like it's some type of like ethnic safe haven, but in reality, there's a lot of racist white people in Queens as well, especially amongst the rich, you know. And Donald Trump was one of those guys, you know, just a rich guy who raised in privilege, only most of the time probably dealt with white people on his level, and any time he encountered people of color, it was probably like, you know, like someone who worked in his building or somebody that was like, you know, catering to him or some stuff like that. So that's how he sees people of color, like to cater. Like, these are people that cater to me, not the other way around. And he carried that to his presidency, you know? And it's hard to, as a New Yorker, and it's hard as an American, to reconcile the fact that all the things that we were told growing up about, you know, racism and you know, racial harmony and treating everybody with equality and stuff, and then we come to 2016 and now, you know, 2020, as bad as it is, over the 4 years of his presidency, Donald Trump is president based on the fact of not giving a fuck of what he says about other people, you know? And, you know, if you're a Republican, in my book, and you're a Republican for the ideals of being a Republican, I get it. But Donald Trump doesn't represent that. Maybe in terms of money, yeah, but he's a terrible person. He's not religious whatsoever. He's not, you know, he goes back on his word. He'll choose himself over America any day of the week. That's the reason why he never served in the military, because he's too chicken shit to fight for this country, because he'd rather live and make money than you know, defend his country. You know, that's why he got that exemption, because he's a pussy, you know? I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of us that would be scared to go to the military if we had to. Absolutely. But he's a pussy. You know, he does it because he's a rich white boy who had all his privilege, and he's like, oh, I have to fight and maybe die for this country? No. I'd rather be rich and keep on living, right? There's a lot of things I can go on about. But I think at the end of the day, you know, Donald Trump is a dog shit human being. And these athletes are, you know, they have a simple cause, a simple way to protest that's protected by our Constitution, the Constitution that all these, you know, right-wing Trump lovers always talk about, because they always want to bring up the Second Amendment, you know? So, I mean, yeah, so it's like, you know, it's like you only want the amendments to work for you when it works for you. But if it works for people of color or people who oppose your ideas, then you don't want it. And don't get me wrong, there's also hypocrisy on the Democratic side. hypocrisy on the liberal side. You know, there is absolutely. I'll be the first one to admit that. But the level of hypocrisy and the level of like lack of self-awareness in regards to Trump lovers, it's astonishing, honestly. And I think that at the end of the day, you know, we have to just remember, you know, try our best to uphold the values of America. You know, and you know, we do that by honoring the people who made this country great. Because the people who made this country great at the end of the day were immigrants, and there's always been immigrants. Because there is no such thing as a Native American unless you're Native American. You know, and I think a lot of like people, descendants of immigrants, forget that. You know, a lot of like Italians and Irish people who are Trump lovers forget at one point Italians and Irish people were shitted on. You know, for being immigrants. You know. And just because you're white and you assimilated into that white American culture, you know, then you kind of turn your back on the identity of being an immigrant, and then you start shitting on people who were brown skin, black skin, you know, even though they have the same beginnings as you, just because. But, you know, at the end of the day, being American is by luck. You know, we were lucky enough to be born and raised in America, you know. A lot of people talk about, oh, I got into this country the right way. I'm like, okay, yeah. Well, you know what? If your country was bordering America, you motherfuckers would be illegally immigrating too. It just happens that Mexico happens to be on the southern border of the United States. And, you know, you can create a better life in America. And I think we kind of lose track of that, how beautiful it is to be an American, to work, to be able to work hard and try to be the best that you can be at something, you know? And, that's something I'm proud about. But that dream should be offered to everybody, not just people who just like look like you. And I'm talking to white people, you know. It shouldn't just be afforded to just people who you feel comfortable that you can allow. Because at the end of the day, everyone is an immigrant or sons and daughters of immigrants. And, you know, I guess we're gonna end our podcast on that note, you know. I love being an American, and I fucking hate Donald Trump. You know? Yeah, guys, you know what? Just want to run this by you guys. You know, we have our podcast. We're going to do this on a weekly basis. We're going to try a little harder to do this on a bi-weekly basis, especially when, you know, it's a fight week coming up in boxing. Hopefully we get our pay-per-views coming back, and, you know, we can do a podcast before the fight and after the fights. And, you know, we're really excited to start this. You know, Raul, do you have any last words to any potential listeners? Maybe only like one or two.
No.
But do you have any words to offer before we sign off?
No, it's just thanks for hearing us out. Expect great things from us. We're going to try to rock out from this point on. Potentially get guests in. Put out as much content as we can, and follow us on our IG, Twitter, all those social media platforms that we could potentially have.
We got to plug that in. Honey Bunches of Goats Podcast NYC is our Instagram handle, and the same for our Twitter handle. If you want to follow us, we'll be posting up information, posting up, you know, things that will be related to our podcast. And, when we start another podcast, we'll always put like previews out. Likely you're going to have this podcast ready to go for consumption sometime in the coming week or next week. So we're going to be posting that on Instagram as well. KG, do you have any other final words before we sign off?
I'm just excited for you guys to hear this content.
Yeah, by the way, my brother is very subdued right now, so hopefully we'll get him either smacked or drunk the next time we get on our podcast.
Just a little nervous for the first time, but I'll get things going. And like you said, we'll get things rocking.
Yeah, we're going to get a pop.
As long as we do it together, that's all I'm happy. And like I said, just excited for you guys to hear this content.
All right, no doubt. Well, just want to say, guys, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate any support that you guys can offer. We're going to be setting up a Patreon eventually. We're going to be setting up other avenues of social media to promote our podcast and our brand. And, from the bottom of my heart, it really means a lot for anybody listening here. We want to provide, our type of perspective and content that we find interesting. And you know, if it means just one person at a time, that's good enough for us. So from me, Kyle Ayala, my brother KJ Ayala, and Raul Navarrete.
Deuces.
I just want to say, bid you guys adieu. Thank you so much for listening, and
Thank you,
hopefully
guys.
we'll catch you on the flip side.
Yes,
We don't
sir.
have any music live yet, but
We
we're going to
will.
be adding the music in post-production. So this is where the point where we add their ending credit music here. But yeah, from all of us, from the Honey Bunches of Goats, thank you so much for listening, guys. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you. It really means a lot. Have a
Later.
good night.
Thank
What
you,
time is it right
guys.
now? 9? Yeah, have a good
9
night.
p.m. Take
Yeah.
care.
Guys.
So unless it's the morning, good morning for y'all if y'all listen to this. All right, peace.
Take care, guys.